Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, let me reset here. I had my window all straight a minute ago and it just.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. How are you?
Fantastic. Living the dream. How are you all doing?
Good.
I'm doing good.
Good morning.
I'm going to give everybody a chance. There were a few people still in the main session even when I clicked over. And his keys are on. Welcome, everybody. I know I've kind of already introduced myself a little bit to you guys. Again, I want to thank you again for coming this morning and taking time out of your busy sleep schedules and so forth. I know that's like a big thing. I had so many of my students say, at 9:30 in the morning. I'm like, well, that's when the opportunity is presenting itself. What are you going to do? I'm going to just talk to you guys a little bit more in depth about the merge and the between math or connection between math and technology, if you will, and kind of try to. I'm going to just quickly go through. I made this little presentation. What's funny? I'm gonna call myself out a little bit or throw myself under the bus. I started with nothing. I was asked like a few days ago to participate in this event, and I'm like, what do I do? And something about that preparation and the drive, that one has, you quickly come up with a plan and you quickly slap something together, if you will. And so it got to be a little bit more extensive than I really have time for. So I'm going to go a little bit faster. And I think that the other folks that you will get a chance to talk to who are much smarter than I, my students will never hear me say that, but today it's true. There are a lot smarter people in this room than I today. And I think they'll be able to answer any questions that you might come up with from my speaking. If there's any time left, we'll do that. Okay, let's go. It is time check. It's 10 o'clock, 9:59. Here we go. So I want to share my screen with you and begin my quick presentation here. Right. There's no sound. I don't have any wonderful videos. So here we go. Let me see. Will it stay? Tell me if you can still see what is engineering now. Okay, and it's full screen. Great. Okay, so just want to talk real quickly about what is engineering, if you've ever thought about it. But it's the application of math and science to create things to help society. What can you do? What kind of problems do you see in your household, in your neighborhoods, in the world at large, and then seeking out the opportunities to fix them in general. And math will always be a big part of that. Okay. So one might think, what's something we all like? Most people like candy. Well, how does engineering possibly merge with candy? Well, let's explore some options. How is engineering involved in the creation and sale of candy? Well, an electrical engineer might help design the electricity flow of the manufacturing plant for that candy. A computer engineer or programmer might be involved in designing the devices to monitor and manage the creation of the candy. They might be creating the programs and things that run those machines and so forth. A chemical engineer might be involved in creating the perfect combination to make that candy taste ever so sweet or tart, or to give it that perfect taste and texture that they are going for. So you have the perfect combination of ingredients there. A mechanical engineer might be involved with designing the machines in the factory. An environmental engineer might deal with the water and air filtration systems going in and out of the plant to ensure that it's clean and the food is safe for consumption. An industrial engineer, hey, that's me, might analyze operations and make recommendations for improving efficiency and evaluating also the quality of the candies as they come off of the the production line, and so forth. Civil engineer might design and construct the roads and bridges that are used to transport the candy to the store. And an agricultural engineer might oversee the production of the sugars that are used in the candy. Okay, sorry. There are a variety, close out of my way, I'm sorry. There are a variety of engineering careers that you can explore. So when someone says, oh, I want to be an engineer, you need to define that. Do you want to deal with aerospace? Do you want to deal with materials, aeronautical, biomedical, if you have interest in medicine and things of that nature? Oh, sorry, I advanced without my permission. But that takes us to the next one. Why should I become an engineer? If you like to invent things, I was a tinkerer, if you will. When I was little, I used to tinker with crazy stuff that nobody else. I used to take pens apart. Pens. I didn't screw my mom. She sold. She was what do you call it? She was in specialty advertising. So she always had like the coolest things, the newest, latest gadgets that were about to hit the market. And her job was the printing that's on like this little pen. She would speak with the people that say, hey, I want pens like that to give to my customers and clients or anybody coming into my office. But we had all of her samples and stuff, and she'd give them, those were our school supplies. I don't recall doing much school shopping because mom had it all. But I would take those pens apart and figure out how to put them back together. I'd take rocks and put them in my little wagon sometimes and just beat them and break them apart and just exploring stuff. Okay, I digress. But if you have interest in computers and games, there's opportunity there for you. Cures for diseases, finding new sources of energy. Right now, we need that, and new forms of entertainment. Use the latest technology and how to improve the world around you. Just continuous improvement. Engineering misconceptions. What are some of the myths? That only super smart people can become engineers. Let me poke a pin right here. I'm starting to not hate. I don't like to use the word hate either, but I'm starting to have a dislike for the word smart. I try not to use it in the classroom with my students because I don't want you to think smartness is more of a definitive, kind of like a finality in the thought process and maybe how our brain receives it. A lot of my students will say, oh, I'm not smart. Yes, you are. We're all smart. We all have gifts and talents to bring, but our intelligence is what can be fed, can be nurtured, can be improved upon. And it's called having a growth mindset. Someone who says that they're smart or believes that you're either born smart or you're not has a fixed mindset, meaning that it can't change. But if you have a growth mindset, you understand this really tiny word well, and you accept the fact that I don't understand it, what, yet. Give me some time. I'm going to get it. We got this. Okay. So you don't have to be super smart. You just need to have that gumption, that interest and tenacity to stick to it and keep going. You don't have to, all engineers are not shy. I'm a very outgoing person, but at the same time, I was an intellect. Engineers have no outside interest. I just gave you a few of them earlier. I have interest in sales, film and television. I like movies. I like travel. I like so many different things. And all engineers are men. Well, that is quickly changing and has been for a little bit of time. There's a lot of them there, but no, it's not all men. Would I like engineering? Well, do you enjoy knowing how things work? Do you think of new things or better ways to do things? Maybe shorter processes? Like, I think I could do this quicker if those kind of things come to your mind a lot, you might be on the path to engineering. Do you get good grades in math and science? Key subjects, math and science. Do you like mazes and puzzles? Some of the advantages that you might see as from an experience from an engineering degree, engineers make a lot of money or can make a lot of money. As I mentioned to you earlier, my very first opportunity to go on an internship, I'd never been on one before, but the money that I would get as a stipend or my little paycheck was determined by my major. And they just knew that they're going to prepare me well. I've had the opportunity as well to live in some small towns and even some big cities. I've worked for small companies and I've even worked for Fortune 500 Fortune 5 companies, working for General Motors. That's probably like one of the biggest ones. And I've worked internationally. It's given me opportunities to travel around the world. It's a very respected career. You get to work with very talented individuals and have the opportunity to make large scale differences. What else can you do with an engineering degree? My big answer is almost anything. Um, a lot of engineers are project managers. Um, they are executives for companies, researchers, professors, um, and even, as I mentioned, filmmakers, producers, and directors. Examples of some former engineers got here, short list of Jimmy Carter, obviously worked in the peanut industry and also worked with solar, had some dabbles, I believe, in solar engineering back in the day, before I think his father took ill or something like that, parents took ill. Um, Scott Adams, who's the creator of Dilbert, a cartoon, popular cartoon in the newspapers. Montel Williams, TV talk show host. And I went on to mention Will Packer, mega multi-million dollar movie producer, box office movie producer, and even his partner, um, Rob Hardy. He's an award-winning director for film and television. So you can do almost anything you want. What do you need to do to become an engineer? Right now, where you are, I would say make sure that you are doing. If my students are in this room, they already know and they're probably laughing at home because I'm about to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Oops, dab on that math. I do it in class all the time and I tell them, I need you to dab on that math. I know that's so 2016 or 2015, whatever, but I'm going to keep it because dabbing for me stands for do your absolute best in your math. And take the same approach with science because you'll see that there's a lot of merge between the two classes. Some of the things you're learning in math, I might teach one day about scientific notation. And then when you get to science class, they're going to say, hey, what's the weight of this atom or this such and such, whatever you're working on. And now you've got this really minuscule number that's this long, takes up the whole page. Well, what's a shorter way of writing that? You want to write it in scientific notation. So there's a lot of parallels there. So focus on your math and science classes right now. If you're struggling, get a tutor. I'm one. Hit me up. Begin planning for college. It's never too soon to start thinking about it. Do you have to have all the answers right now? No. Is it going to change? Because even if you make a plan today and say, I'm going to this college, I'm going to major in this thing, and I want to be this when I grow up, does that mean it won't change in a year, 2 years, next week? No. And it's okay. Take the SATs and ACTs. I encourage you probably take them early, take the practice ones and get yourselves ready for that. Talk to a guidance counselor, and not just your counselors, because we all have probably stories similar to someone who spoke earlier about you'll have people to tell you that you can't do this or that. They'll look at your report card and think that your report cards, or even here in Virginia, we have SOL scores. They'll look at that and say, oh, this snapshot, this one piece of paper, these couple of scores that you got on this test don't quite add up to a future engineer or future this or that. That's in their opinion. That's in their limited experience and exposure. They haven't been where I have been and the people that you are talking to today have been. So you have to keep it in the back burner, but don't let it populate your mind and don't let it limit you because you can do and be anything that you want to do and be. I have students that were, for example, on a 3rd grade level of math when they came to my class in 6th grade. My boss tells me, hey, I need you to get these students up to a 7th grade or 6th grade level of math. Really? In 1 year? And I thought he was asking me the impossible. It really kind of was, really far-fetched to bring a room full of students up from 3rd grade level math to 6th grade level math in a couple of months. And I'm sorry, yeah, we were kind of in the hood. They had so many more things on their mind to worry about whether they're going to eat today, what they're going to eat, is it going to be safe to go home, which way should they walk home or catch the bus home to keep from getting jumped, stabbed, or whatever in the world. And you think that they're going to be focused on me and bringing that 3rd grade level math up to 6th grade. Well, it didn't happen right away, but I did have at least 1 or 2 students that I can brag on today that between 6th grade and 8th grade, because I worked with them each of those grades at that school. The one little boy went from a 3rd grade level math in 6th grade. He ended up in my honors pre-algebra or honors algebra. No, it was pre-algebra. He didn't quite make it to algebra, but he was this close to being able to take algebra in 8th grade. Why? Because he listened to me. And when I provided him opportunities, hey, you can work on this in your spare time. He liked gaming. So I put him on some games that helped him. He was working on them every night, every day, little bit at a time gives you great advances. You don't have to do it all in one night. Another example I've given my students, hey, if you walk into the gym today because you want to participate in the muscle man contest that's in a month, you might be scrawny and your muscles are sagging down and you got a little flab, a little tie around your waist. Just because you walk in there today, you're not going to be able to say, oh, let me work out and I'm going to get it all in. I'm going to run, I'm going to jump, I'm going to do this, lift these weights, and I'm going to do it all in 24 hours and think that you're going to walk out of that gym in 24 hours and you're going to look like The Rock. It's not happening. It's going to take some time. But if you do a little bit every day or every other day, because you got to give your muscles time to break down and build back up, it's the same with the brain cells. They got to break down and build back up. Your brain is a muscle. So give it a little bit of activity, a little bit of a workout every day, and you'll see great gains. I promise you. Hit me up in about a year and let me know if it worked, if you do it, if you actually do it. Keeping on going, I'm almost done. Why math and science? Math and science pretty much runs our world. Trains you to draw conclusions based on systematic and gathered facts. Math trains you to think logically, recognize conclusions. Science trains you to develop explanations based on your observations, how to create, design experiments, carry them out. And then, that's what engineering will help you do. It helps you to pull all of that together and be a resourceful individual. How can you learn more about engineering? If you are interested, spend more time to work with an engineer. Seek out engineers, whether it's a friend's parent, your parent, a relative, or any of the folks you might have a chance to meet today, if possible, and find a mentor. There's a lot of value in finding a mentor, somebody you can just talk to every now and then. Talk with college students and participate in science fairs. If you have a science fair at your school, challenge yourself to participate in it, even if you're like, oh, I don't think this is my thing, just you'll surprise yourself. And the first one may not go well, but try it again until you get it. All right, I'm done. Here's a couple of resources if you're interested. I'd encourage you to take a quick screenshot of it, or better yet, maybe write it down really quickly, something like that. If you're interested in, let's see, National Engineers Week, eweek.org, explorescience.com, engineergirl.com. And I'm going to add one also because I'm really a big proponent for coding. Checking my time, sorry. I think that whatever it is that you like to do, whatever it is that you're good at, if you can find a way to merge that with coding, you can set yourself up big time for the future. What's going on right here and here and now is one thing, but what's coming down the road and will be big by the time you're at that point could be very different than what we know of right now. But prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. And that website I want you to jot down, if you will, it's called code.org, CODE.org. As soon as I unshare my screen, I'll pop it into the chat if it allows me to. CODE.org. It's free and you can learn on your own in your spare time just a little bit, the introductory about how to code using block code. Okay. I think that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions, anyone? Nothing?
How do you concentrate? Stay focused.
Concentrate and stay focused. And before I answer that, I forgot to say something very important at the beginning. I'm sorry. Whenever you have questions, guys, from anyone today, please, what did I do? Oh, okay, sorry. Hit a button. use the reactions at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And if you could just do a hand clap, I'm going to try to remember that you're not just giving me all this applause, but you actually have a question. Okay. But how do I focus? And that quick, see, I'm getting old. What was the other part of it? How do you focus and what?
Sorry. Concentrate, like stay focused on what you're doing.
Videos.
Do it on that. It says I probably wasn't concentrating, but how do I focus and concentrate? Now that can be, it's different for everybody, I guess, but sometimes you just have to train yourself to block out distractions when you need to. Find your comfort zone for studying. I know that we're in a virtual world right now. For me, it used to be music, but it is music. I can't focus as well when it's totally quiet. Total silence to some people can be very intimidating and a bit uncomfortable. For me, it is. But if I have like some light music, I never used to like jazz when I was younger. And I've grown up a little bit and I've learned to appreciate jazz, maybe sometimes even some minor classical, not as much, but some light jazz. Like Paul Hardcastle is one of my favorites because his music it makes me feel like I'm at the beach. I love being at the beach, just laying out there and feeling nature and all that kind of stuff. So if I could put on some Paul Hardcastle, really light, maybe some headphones or whatever, it helps me to focus and block everything out for a little bit. Okay, turn off your distractions like the cell phone. That's a big one. Charge it up and put it in another room while you're trying to get your work done. Put a sign on your door. Let it your family or your siblings know. Do not enter right now. I'm studying or something like that. Be creative. Am I answering your question okay? But it does take it's a mind over matter kind of thing.
Oh, you did. My problem is a lot of times I'll start something, but then I get interested in something else, and then I like do a bunch of stuff at the same time. So
Be related. We might understand that too. But let's see. I think what has helped me with that from time to time, and I'm not even great at keeping up with that. Making lists. Make a list of all the things that you need to do because I like seeing things checked off. Use a planner if you have one that's kind of old school, but I'm about to go back to using an actual paper planner. I know they've got them digitally and that's supposed to be easier, blah, 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 blah. Something about paper and pencil, it has not gone out of style where you can outline the projects and tasks that you need to get done. And then under those big pieces, say I've got a project. Okay, well, what are the individual steps and things that you need to do to accomplish that task? So it's called, it's like a work breakdown. You got to chunk it. That's what we call it, chunk it. I know I've got this big thing to do. Break that big thing down into some more bite-sized pieces. And then give yourself some reasonable goals or tasks to get it done. And before you know it, you got everything checked off, and it's like, oh, all I got to do is put the glue and put it together. It becomes a lot easier when you break your work down into manageable teams. They call it SMART goals. Bring up something I don't have the word right in front of me, but making sure that what SMART goal is making sure that they're specific. Be specific about what needs to be done. It needs to be measurable. How much time, how much this, quantify it, how long it's going to take, make sure the goals are realistic. I forgot the A real quick, and time specific. Time specific, that's not the measurable part, but look that up. How do you make SMART goals out of any and everything? Any other questions? Okay. Alrighty. Well, let's continue on. I want to keep the schedule. I went 1 minute over. I'm so sorry. Next up, we have Brigadier General Allison Solomon. And again, if you have any questions, let me unshare. If you have any questions for Brigadier Solomon, please feel free to use the hand clap feature under reactions.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? You may not be able to see me because I want you to see where I am. And I'm going to ask a question later on to see if anybody has been to this location. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, but I have to say that the more exciting part of what's going to happen for the folks in this room is the two people that also follow me, because they are real engineers. You know, they've gone through the hard work of choosing a profession that is, not necessarily well known, but they'll offer you some opportunities to think about. And so I just want to share a couple things. One is a little bit about my background and why that I might be able to share anything with you for you to think about. You know, I am a Black female. I'm an immigrant. I came to this country when I was 10 years old. I joined the military when I was 18, and 36 years later, I got out, and I had a tremendous opportunity to serve this country and learn a lot of things. And I think what the teacher said about math and science, they do run the world. Those who know about math and science, and when you think about it from a basic level, just being able to count money is math. Being able to, work your cell phone and know how to come on a Zoom meeting is about engineering and understanding, asking the next question about what happens after that. How does this work? You know, for me, it was an interesting path to joining the military. I don't come from a family of folks that necessarily have a military background. I'm a first generation American, but what it offered me was an opportunity to learn a lot of different things and become exposed to a lot of different people in a lot of different places. You know, I was in the Maryland Air National Guard for my entire 36 years, and I started off as enlisted. I tell people I started off as the lowest rank you could be in the military, an E1. There is nothing lower than an E1. So when you have to then navigate and learn what is this culture all about, and when I ended up as an 07, I always remembered being an E1 and I was totally clueless. I also think about being your age and how I decided to make the path that I did. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I was just interested in having fun, and I am the antithesis of many of my cousins and others in my family. They knew what they wanted to do. Allison was just like, okay, we'll see what happens. You know, I was okay at school. I didn't fail. My mom used to tell me, that's your job. And I couldn't get another job until I got good grades. And she said, after you get to a certain age and you can make other decisions. I'm not sure your parents tell you that. Yeah, mine did. So from that standpoint, it was very important for me to really explore things. And I was shy. I didn't, necessarily get out and get involved with a lot of activities. And, one of the things I learned later on of leading a lot of people is take advantage of what's in your community. A lot of the young people that worked for me were Scouts, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, were members of, were club kids, Boys and Girls Club. You get to experience a lot of these STEM and type opportunities and workshops as being part of a club. If there's a club in your neighborhood that you can take advantage as a community center, just being around people that do different kinds of jobs helps you understand what it's about. And then ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Many times I think tell young people, go sit on the side and don't ask any questions. I will tell you the best way for you to learn and understand and explore is to ask questions of people, because quite frankly, anyone who dismisses you is not a person you really want to talk to, because they don't remember when they were that age and inquisitive and seeking knowledge about what to do. So from my standpoint, I just want to encourage each and every one of you to just not be afraid. You're going to be hesitant, but you've got folks around you that are supporting you. But it's okay to not know, and it's okay to ask questions. And as a person who has spent my entire adult life in uniform, trust me, I didn't start off knowing what it was going to be like to be a general officer in the military. I didn't start off knowing or understanding what it was to lead people. I didn't start off understanding what it was to be responsible to, for my job. I didn't start off understanding the trust and responsibility that would be given to me by others to care for their loved ones. And it comes with a great sense of, it's humbling because people put their loved ones in your care and they expect you to take care of them. And so while I wasn't technically an engineer, I sure appreciate it. And, when I think about all the things in this life that are fundamental to understanding science and math and technology, it is, being in Air Force and seeing a lot of people that fly, environmental, if you like being outdoors, being in nature, you can, learn to test the water. There's a whole engineering and field around those kinds of things. And just finding something that you're curious about and investing time in it. So I will leave the rest of my time for questions or because I want to hear from you. So what do you want to know? First of all, how many people know where I am?
I do.
Yeah?
I do. The Washington Monument.
How many of you have been there?
I have.
Okay.
I have.
Okay. What else do you see behind me? There's another building I want you to recognize.
Is it the Pentagon?
No, try again.
Mm,
It blends in, it's brown.
it blends in, it's brown. Brown.
It's over my left shoulder. Well, my left, your right. I'm facing you, so it's over my right, this shoulder.
Is it the state park?
Okay, no, good guess.
Is it a museum?
Say it again.
Is it a museum?
It is a museum.
Oh,
Is it the Black African Museum?
Ding, 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 ding. Yes, it is. And I encourage all of you, if you've not been there, to take a visit because you will see a lot of those engineers that we're going to talk about. You see them on display there too. And, as I was at a stoplight today, I was reminded about Garrett Morgan inventing the stoplight as a Black man and, Hidden Figures, my sorority sister, doing the mathematics for John Glenn to go to the moon. But I encourage you all, if you live in this area, great, take advantage of it. If you've not been here, two of those things are places for you to visit. So, questions? No questions, okay.
Oh, I did have a question. I just didn't want to be the only person asking.
That's why you were here. Yes.
Okay. My question was, how do you, or do you learn this in school or in the work? How do you figure out a problem you've never seen? Like, how do you learn to solve problems, something you've never seen? It's different if you've done something all the time, but if you get something new, how do you approach it to learn something you've never done before? If you don't have any help and you ask people and they don't know, or either they're busy.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you correct, what you want to know is how do you approach attacking a question or answering a question that you've never seen before and you've asked for help and no one has seen it as well, right?
Right.
Okay, so from my experience, what I have done is because you are starting off at some point, you have usually some background in terms of logically figuring things out. And just because you don't necessarily personally know someone that could assist you, we have a lot of tools and resources today that, you know, whether it's via the internet and you have to learn how to recognize those sources, or the library, I use for research. I also have learned and it's taken some time to do, but you have to start listening to that inside voice. And the reason I say that inside voice is we innately know what's right and wrong, but we have to listen to it, right? Because you don't usually feel guilty about something that you're doing right. That's not usually when you feel guilty. It's usually about when you're going off course. So learning how to listen to your inside, and people talk about that as your gut. And developing my gut early was very important. So I encourage you, because it starts when you're your age, knowing inside of you what is not right and what is right. And then you can say, okay, what else do I have available to me if I don't have a person? Is there a place I can go to? Is there a museum I can go to? Is there a book I can read to educate myself on a subject so that I can then go through those logical steps and make a better decision? Does that answer your question? That was Dylan, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to know what degrees and what schools did you go to, and
Well,
how did you achieve your goals?
wow, what degrees? So I have two of them, a business degree from Loyola University now in Baltimore, which is a small Jesuit school. And then I have a master's in public administration from Auburn University. And, you know, one of the things that the military encourages you to do, and number one, you can't be an officer without a college degree anymore. And it's also to continue education. They provide you a lot of additional education and opportunities, certainly. But, you know, I felt understanding how the public sector work was one of the reasons I chose to get my master's degree in public administration. And I will say, because I heard some of the conversation in the group earlier, is many of my friends went to HBCUs. I did not. Mine was a majority school. And, you know, the experience, the camaraderie they share is something I do envy because, you know, it's a long lasting experience. And, you know, the competition is just as fierce as any other school. If you're a competitive person, I am not by nature. I'm more of a collaborative individual, but you know, part of it is where you're going to feel that you're going to get the best as a whole person. And I encourage all of you to certainly look at all those experiences to see which one fits you best. Thanks for your question, Isaiah.
You're welcome.
I don't see any more hands. Patrice, do you see any more hands?
I don't, but I can tell you I'm just excited by the questions that have been rolling in so far. I took a second to respond to some in chat. Is your chat Brigadier General? Because some of them I saw early. They may have sent them to you privately. If anyone's microphone is not working, I just want to remind you also, feel free to enter your questions in chat, but you can also give a hand clap so that the speaker knows to look for it. So speakers will just train themselves to look for it. Sorry. Time check here. Were there any other questions for Brigadier General Solomon? Students, we love your questions.
Well, thank you all. If no other questions, and I'm glad you all knew where I was. Yay, DC.
Awesome. Okay. everybody, we have with us a real live physicist. And so next on the agenda, we're going to turn it over to Colonel Al Trimble, who is a retired Marine Corps person with us. Colonel Trimble, sorry.
Well, thank you. First of all, Ms. Gibbs, Brigadier General Solomon, and boys and girls, or I would say young men and young ladies, thank you for spending your Saturday morning with me. It's been a real pleasure to actually listen and learn myself from some of my peers out there doing some great things. It's great to hear some of the stories and experiences that they have, and they're sharing with you today. I mean, really, really a great opportunity. Now, I know I've got some other HBCU grads out there, like FAMU and as well, but I'm a Morehouse man. So when I say Morehouse man, they say you can usually tell a Morehouse man, you just can't tell him anything, is what they normally say. But great to be here with you all today. Morehouse is the home of some famous alums that many of you may know, folks like Dr. Martin Luther King. But then you may say today, why am I here and what does Dr. King have to do with science, math, technology, engineering? But there's a lot. And let me just say, I grew up like most of the team here with some very humble beginnings. I was a tinkerer as well. I mean, I remember, you guys probably don't remember this, but I used to actually take apart the television with the test tubes in it and or vacuum tubes in it, as you were. And I would tear apart little radios and get things to fix. You know, we didn't have a lot of money, so it was up to me to either fix something to make sure that it worked so that I would have something. And so that's kind of the way I grew up. I spent a good part of my career in using STEM and mathematics just to help me succeed in life. When I say that, you know, I like the Brigadier General Solomon. You know, I started in one of the lowest ranks there was. I enlisted right after high school. I didn't have a college education at the time, but I always wanted to do greater and bigger things. And so, in doing that, you needed a degree, and I was always that tinkerer that always had that mechanical mind, and I always loved math. One thing that, you know, I heard one of the students ask a question, you know, how do you stay motivated or how do you stay focused? And I think for me, it was just making it fun. And so you have to find a way to really make math fun. You have to find a way to make reading fun. You have to make a way to find science fun. Find those things that you really like and really dive into them. I mean, just throw yourself into them, and you will be successful. They talked a little bit about role models. I think, you know, role models can come from anywhere. Really, they do. If you see something you like that's happening, don't be shy. Go up to them, ask that individual, hey, how did you do that? How did you get here? What can I do to be like you? Because, you know, those are the type of things that keep you motivated. When I say have fun, those are the kind of things that really get your blood pumping in the morning. You want to be able to jump. You know how that day is. You know, Christmas is coming up, and you know how it's hard to go to sleep because you're just excited about Christmas morning. Well, that's the feeling that you want to develop in yourself or find in yourself when it's about either science, technology, engineering, mathematics, right? You want that gut. You want to go to sleep with an idea that you just can't wait to get up the next morning to work on to finish. And once you get that fire in your gut to do that every day, day in and day out, oh man, you found your magic thing. And you won't have to worry about a job ever in your life. You won't have to worry about money ever in your life because you find that passion to get you out of the bed in the morning and just stay focused on it. And dream big. I mean, dream big. I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch these cartoons. One was called Dick Tracy, and they used to have, he used to talk to his watch, and there was a little television on his watch. And I knew that one day, about 10, 15 years ago, I said, you know, that's got to happen sooner or later. And here I am today, you know, wearing an Apple Watch, so to speak. And these things happen. You have to dream big. I mean, today we're here on a very famous day where, you know, a guy by the name of Elon Musk is going to send a private rocket into space My God, can you build a rocket to go to space? Believe it or not, you can do that. You can dream that. But what's the next step beyond that? I was in a conversation the other day where I heard a gentleman talk about, space exploration is where we were, as many of us learned, the beginning of transatlantic shipping, trade. And so if you think about way back when we just had boats and we could go across the ocean, that's where we are with space exploration. So what does that mean for us? Or what does that mean for you guys? That means at some point in time, you guys will be using space as an ocean of opportunity. I mean, you guys will have an opportunity to see hotels on the moon, or mining of minerals in space, or travel in space for just a vacation, or just the opportunity to grow organs or whatever whatever scientific discoveries are happening today. You'll be able to take advantage of that. So dream big. Whatever it is in space that you think you can do it, and continue to do that, and just believe in yourself. They talked a little bit about networking and opportunity. That's that. Find that fire in your gut that you like, and go ask those questions day in and day out. But I would also say, take care of yourself, right? Stay healthy. You guys have been stuck inside for most of the COVID. I guess during COVID, many of you guys have been stuck inside. So, get out, get some fresh air. Make sure you stay healthy, and take care of your younger siblings or brothers and sisters or friends, because that's what it's about as you grow up. We talked a lot about science, technology, engineering, and math, but I don't want to underestimate the value of reading and writing, right, and keeping a journal. I think if you one of the things that I started early on in my career was I wrote a journal, and so every time I had a wild idea, I mean, you guys are sitting there and you'll see a solution to something. You'll say, man, I could do that a lot easier than that, or I can build something a lot better than that. Write it down. And then one of the days you'll have the tools to go back and refine that idea, so that, you will be the next Elon Musk, or you will be the next Bill Gates, or you'll be the next Charles Bolden, or, what have you. That is within you. And I see it in each and every one of you out there. So just continue to have that, and just remember to continuous learning. Make learning fun. You want to learn as much as you can, right? You open it. One of the things that I noticed that most of us do today, if we want to learn how to fix something, man, we'll go and we'll open that iPad, or we'll open that computer and we'll YouTube something, right? How many of you YouTube something to figure out how to do it, right? And so that's what you do. You learn to continuously learn. And that is something that I think is just phenomenal today, that we have that opportunity. And one of the students also asked about how do you learn to solve problems when there's no one around to kind of help you out? And that is a challenge today, as many of us are learning virtually, right? A lot of our parents, or a lot of our individuals, parents or guardians or mentors, probably didn't have some of the same lessons that you are having today, and you're are challenged with in your daily classes here online. So I think, familiarize yourself with those other online training assets out there, like Khan Academy or edX, or one of those type of schools.
Mr. Trimble, we can't hear you.
I've said enough. I just want to have the opportunity.
Mr. Trimble?
Yes.
Okay, for some reason, I don't know if anyone else experienced, I couldn't hear you for just a few moments there.
Okay. I was just wrapping up, Ms. Gibbs. Just wrapping up there. So I'm just looking for any questions or opportunities that are out there that I can help out the students.
Okay. I see a question from my favorite question answerer already. Aunt Pasker, excuse me. Ms. Dillon is asking, when looking on the internet, how do you discern whether the information is true or not? Like Wikipedia, for example. Anyone want to take a stab at that one?
Oh, I think I think that is probably the most pertinent question that you can ask today, because I think it has a lot of validity across everything, right?
Yes.
And there are, as a matter of fact, I think that is an opportunity for a great engineer to fix that problem, right? Because that is a problem that many of us are struggling with today, even as adults, even as leaders, even as scientists. We're struggling with the problem to get across true information and get that true information to the right people so they can make honest assessments of whatever it is that they need to make an assessment of based on the information they receive over the internet. There are people who are working on what we call truth solutions, or blockchain technology, in a sense, to kind of help filter the truth or at least identify true sources, or at least identify the source of the information with some degree of fidelity. But I think probably one of the most the easiest way to probably give yourself some relative confidence that what you're reading is true is to use various reliable resources. And that becomes a question of what's a reliable resource. But, but that would be my thing, is use a variety of resources that you trust, being careful not to get necessarily in your own echo chamber. But I'll leave it at that and allow one of the other speakers to chime in if they would like.
That is not exactly my area of expertise, but I will just say I covered a little bit about that. I did a summer program. It's been a few years ago, and one of the instructors actually talked about this very topic, but I wasn't in the class. I just remember her saying that, she was doing this critical analysis, critical writing class. That was her part. And they talked about this very thing. So all I'm going to say is, because my limited knowledge, I know there are some sites you can change information on them more easily than others, and some others.
Excuse me.
Can I get a hand clap that you would like to speak? And I'll give you a moment, just a second. Let me finish my sentence. But I think that a good way for students at your age is maybe take that question to your language arts teacher, or someone who's probably more qualified than I to help you delve into finding the answer to that question. Okay, that was an awesome question though, Dylan. Thank you. And I'm sorry, was it Isaiah? Did you have a question first? Isaiah, I see your hand. Go ahead, dear.
Was you in the Army or the Marines?
Isaiah, I was in the Marine Corps. I spent 30 years in the Marine Corps.
Okay. Zayden, I see your hand up. I'm sorry.
How was it like in the Marines?
So one of the things I like about the Marine Corps, everybody says the Marine Corps is tough. It is tough. It is a tough organization. But let me tell you what it is that the Marine Corps does. I think Dr. Gibbs talked about early about breaking things up, breaking things down slowly to be successful, right? We always talk about how do you eat an elephant? Did you know that you can eat an entire elephant by yourself? You know that? You can, but you have to eat it one piece at a time, right? Over a year's time, you just have to eat it one piece at a time. And I think that's what the Marine Corps does. It helps develop leaders one little piece at a time, like Brigadier General Solomon said. She started out as the lowest ranking person there, but slowly she got a little more education, she got a little more training, she got a little more education, she got a little more training, she got a little more experience, she got a little more training. And over time, it helps to develop you into that individual that you want to be. So for all the times you start out slow, if people say you run 3 miles, well, I didn't start out running 3 miles. I started out running a quarter mile, and then a mile, and then 2 miles, and then 3 miles. And after a sudden, it became fun, and it was 5 miles, and then 10 miles, and that kind of thing. So it takes just a little bit of everything to get there. So hopefully that answered your question, buddy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, very good questions. I just want to, oh, sorry, I lost my place here. Just do a quick time check. It's 10:52. And I want to give Miss Nina Johnson is next. I also want to take a moment to, before she comes on, just to welcome the Honorable, I'm going to say this, the Honorable, let me get my words right, Major General Charles Bolden has snuck into our room. How you doing, Mr. Bolden? I saw you. I said, oh, there's the astronaut himself. Welcome to our session. We are
Good to be here. I wanted to come where all the smart kids were.
Are in this room. They are here. I want to take a couple questions. I'm gonna try to cut it down, Ms. Johnson, if you don't mind. I see Jackson had a question. Zayden had a question. Zayden, I saw your hand first. Would you like to ask your question, sir?
How do you rank up? So like, how do you go from one rank to another in that time period?
Is that question for me, or is that question for General Bolden?
For you.
Okay, well, thank you. So, you know, one of the things that the Marine Corps is really good at is recognizing your talent or your potential, right? And so as you make a series of achievements, and then you will normally compete for the next. So for instance, if you're going from your first rank, say it's private, to Lance Corporal, or you're going from lieutenant to captain, what it is, you have shown your experience over time. People will have evaluated your performance over time, and that's based on a combination of things. You know, how much you value continuous learning, how well you value staying in shape, and how well you value and take care of the others that you're in charge of taking care of, right? So people evaluate you on some criteria like that, and they say, wow, you know, Al's done a great job, and I think he is ready for the next race. He shows potential. He has shown some great potential to be ready to take on more or greater responsibility. And so you go and you compete for the next rank with a bunch of other folks, and hopefully, if you're lucky and successful and you've done all of the right things, you'll get promoted to the next rank.
All right. There are other questions coming in, everyone, but I want to give Ms. Johnson her time to speak to us. And there actually is a little bit of time, I think, after that, to the end of our speaking time for you to ask any questions. I would just encourage you, boys and girls, to please write down your questions or type them into chat. You can send your question. If you see where it says two, you can click the little blue, the arrow where the blue is, and select the person that you ability, assuming that you can send your question, take your question to the person you want to address it to. And when the time comes, we can address it more quickly. Is that okay with everybody? Trying to be a little bit more orderly. Because next we have Ms. Nina Johnson to speak with us about the career of electrical engineering. Yay, let's welcome her. Ms. Johnson?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Okay. I'm praying that I don't lose service or connection. It's been kind of blotchy on the last 10 minutes. So hopefully everybody can hear me. Thumbs up, everybody can hear me. Okay. So my name is Nina Johnson. I think I might be the youngest of the speakers today. I'm only 34, but I've accomplished so much in my 34 years. I am a two-time Morgan State University graduate. It's an HBCU. I know you all have heard about
Uh-oh. We're not able to hear you right now, Ms. Johnson. Okay. let's give it a pause while her connection is coming back. If
Huh?
there you are, yes. Oh, nope.
You couldn't hear what I just said? Nobody can hear what I just said? Okay. All right, let's start over. Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. My name is Nana Johnson, and I might be one of the youngest speakers today in this session. I'm only 34. But in my 34 years, I have accomplished so much, and you guys can too. So I am a proud, very proud Morgan State University alum. It's also an HBCU. I received my Bachelor's of Science in Engineering Physics in 2008. And then I got a full scholarship to go back to school to get my master's, also from Morgan State University in 2010 in electrical engineering. So that means that I'm an engineering physicist and an electrical engineer. BEYA has given me the opportunity, or gave me the opportunity to experience so many things. I'm so excited that all of you are on the line today, because I didn't know about BEYA when I was 10 or 14, 11 years old. I found out about BEYA through Morgan. I had who were in my department, in the engineering physics department, and also the electrical engineering department, who exposed me to BEYA and the goodness of it. And when I say the goodness of it, I mean to be around so many African Americans who look like me, thank you, Dylan, who have accomplished so much, so much. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But the thing is that BEYA, aside from also like an HBCU, they help you know and instill in you the pride that you need to move forth in this world. Unfortunately and fortunately, I'm the only electrical engineer in my entire agency. I'm the only Black woman electrical engineer in my whole agency. And I'll talk to you all about what I do. So in BEYA, I got the opportunity to be a civilian. Now, what is a civilian? I know some of you were asking about military ranks. Well, a civilian actually has the opportunity to help military officers in any branch of military solve the nation's most critical problems. But you're a civilian. You're not in uniform. I had no idea what a civilian was before I was offered the position, because I didn't want to be in the military. But I wanted to help people in uniform. And so a civilian gives you the opportunity to do that. I have been a DOD, a Department of Defense civilian, working with the Army, working with Army soldiers on the field. And I've also worked with Air Force officers or airmen. I've had the opportunity to travel internationally, like Ms. Gibbs said. I've been to Afghanistan, I've deployed to Afghanistan to work with Army officers.
Whoa. Okay. I think we lost her. Oh, there she is. Ms. Johnson. Ms. Johnson.
Can you hear me? I apologize. I don't know why
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, let's take a pause. It did cut out, and I was just about to text you in chat, and then you disappeared. I think we cut out. Oh, gosh, I just forgot what you said that quick. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit. It's there. Yes.
Nope. In my back. Okay. Hopefully everybody can hear me still. I apologize. I don't know what's going on. It's my turn and I lose connection. It's fine. This is what happens with technology, right? This is why we need more engineers to help solve problems like losing connection. But aside from that, I was just saying that I had the opportunity to deploy to Afghanistan and to work with Army soldiers to solve problems over there. So, and I've traveled, like I said, I've traveled internationally to do that. So as a civilian, you get the chance to travel. You get the chance to work with our war fighters on the field and off the field to help them solve problems so that we can still be the best nation, which is fantastic. I absolutely love it. So I know you all are like, okay, these people, they have great careers, they're smart. Well, how does this apply to me? Like, how is this actually going to be applicable to my life? And Ms. Gibb gave a great intro, but I want to continue with that, continue with her words and just tap into your knowledge and tap into your greatness and also help you get there. So I'm hoping I can share my screen, and I pray that I don't lose connection with you guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, can everybody see this? Ms. Gibbs, can you tell me if you can see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, I see it here.
Yes, I see it.
I want you all to know that your future is determined by your words. And I know you're like, wait, what? That means that the power of life and death lies within the tongue. Your words have power. The things that you say, the things that you speak, the things that you believe can manifest into reality. So what does that mean? That means that if you want to be great, if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be an electrical engineer, if you want to be a physicist, if you want to be a mathematician, if you want to be a scientist, if you want to be a doctor, guess what? You can be that. Start telling yourself, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer, and I'm going to do what it takes to get there. If you speak negativity into your life, if you constantly tell yourself that you're not smart, you're not capable, you're not worthy, you're not able, you will start to believe that, and you will start to live that way. Very, very heavy on positive reinforcement to help me get to the next level. Like I said, I'm young, but I've done it because I keep telling myself I can do it. You're even if you have nobody else around in your immediate circle that believes in you, you can believe in you. Okay, so your words have power. Remember that. Knowledge is power, but your words are powerful, and you truly can be with it, whatever you want to be. Just have to tell yourself it. Okay, so you be a doctor. You can define your life, you can own your life, and you can claim the future for your life. So what does that mean? That means, okay, so let's start here. I don't know if you all are close to a pad and paper, but if you are, do this. Write down all of the words that come to mind when you reflect on the things that make you happy. Like what? Like space. You might be interested in space. Like computers. Like the PlayStation 5 that some of you may want, or the PlayStation 4, the Xbox. Write down the things that make you happy. And then after you write down those words, you can form those words into phrases or sentences that define who you are. Be specific. I'll explain more later on, but I just kind of want you to think about this. What makes me happy? And then put those things that make you happy into sentences. Can everyone still see the slides? I want to make sure that everybody can still see what I'm saying. Yes. So hello?
I'm sorry, dear. What was your question?
Ms. Gibbs?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
The screen is visible.
Yes, I was asking if you guys could still see and can hear me, because I can't see. I want to make sure everybody can still. Okay, awesome. Okay, so after you define it, you want to own it. Now, how do you own it? Okay, so everyone has been talking about a mentor. Well, what is a mentor? A mentor is someone who sees the potential in you, even if you don't see it. We can be mentors to you. Your teachers can be mentors for you. I would prefer that it was someone outside of your household, because the people that are in your household prayerfully, they are already helping you. But it's someone who's on the outside who can help push you a little bit more. Socialize your potential. So what does that mean? Join extracurricular activities before school, after school, and now that we're virtual, you can even join activities and do things in the virtual world that you probably weren't able to do before. That aligns with, I'm sorry, Ms. Gibbs, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Isaiah, can I just ask you to mute, please? Please keep your mics muted, guys, and until it's your turn to speak. Thank you.
Okay, seek out
Ms. Johnson,
like one of your friends that will host. Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was very choppy.
Okay, the last sentence that I said, I'm sorry.
Thank
you. Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, I said seek out an accountability partner. Somebody like your friend I have a lot of friends that are my accountability partners. There are people who will hold you to your goals. Hey, Nana, you said that you were gonna get your master's. You said that you were gonna study for that test yesterday. Did you study? Can I help you study? What else is it that you need to do in order to reach that goal? Accountability, like mentor, people who are around the same, who motivate you and who can push you. And claim it. Like I said, your words have power. Your words are super powerful. Speak your future into existence. You can find internships that will expose you to the career that you may think that you want to go into. I was internships at 16. I applied for an internship in Iowa at the Interactive Technologies Group, and I got it. So you're not too young to start to begin to think about things that you want to do and places that you want to go. And don't trump your thinking. The world is yours. And then continue to dream. Develop a realistic plan and a roadmap to get there. And your accountability, keeping your parents can help you do that. Okay, real life application, right? So define it. Me personally, can everybody still hear me? I'm sorry, I just want to double check.
You're good.
Yes.
Yes, you're
Ms.
good.
Gibbs, can you still hear me? Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. I just want to keep checking because my connection's been choppy. Okay. So real life application, define it. I love problem solving. I love reasoning. I love to think about complex solutions and complex situations and how can I help? So I'm a very detail-oriented person. I'm a people person, like Ms. Gibbs said. I'm far from shy. I'm actually on the other spectrum. I'm an extreme extrovert. I am a very enjoy talking environments. I issues, and I really enjoy networking and community service. So all of these things that I mentioned go right along with what a civilian can be and what a civilian is. Like I said, solving the nation's most critical problems, solving complex situations, and helping senior leaders come up with solutions to our nation's problems are things that civilians do every single day. And it's what I do. Here are my real life mentors. Mr. Matt Bowman, he was on the line earlier. He's one of my mentors. I met him through BEYA, advocate for me and the things that I've been doing in my life. And then Mrs. McOwen in the left-hand side, she was my math teacher in high school. And actually, we still have a relationship to this day. She also motivates me and encourages me in ways I could never imagine. So having real life mentors matters, and it really does help in your professional development and your goals. So now that you've thought about it, what would you like to do in your future? I'm going to stop sharing and go back so everybody can see me again and open the floor up. Please ask me questions. I'm more than willing to answer any questions that you all have. I hope that those slides and the information that I provided to you today resonated in some way. I hope that somebody got something. And if you didn't get anything at all, just know that your words matter. Your words are powerful, and the things that you say out of your mouth can manifest into reality. Absolutely. Okay, Ms. Gibbs, I apologize everybody for the choppy connection. I'm hoping that you heard the slides, saw the slides, and heard the things that I was saying behind the slides.
Ms. Johnson, that was fabulous. Even with the choppiness, it was great. I'm sorry. I was stealing some of your material while you were talking. I was doing screenshots over here. Just so I have something.
I'll send you the slides. So, Gabrielle, you said, what's my favorite color?
Oh.
I'm sorry, Ms. Gibbs. What did you say?
Oh, me? You were talking to a student. I'm reading chat.
Ms. Gibbs, I'm sorry. What?
Dylan is asking.
Yeah, I think somebody asked me what my favorite color was.
I didn't see that. They may have sent it to you.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Okay. I thought I heard you ask what your favorite color is. Someone asked that question. Okay. Jabril is giving me the thumbs up. That's what he asked.
Okay.
Jabril.
Okay. My favorite color is green and blue.
Sorry. Green and blue. He also has mentioned in chat that he's a beatboxer for now. I'm sorry, Jabril, did you not want us to say that publicly? Is it Jabril? Am I saying it correctly, Mr. Smith? Am I pronouncing? You're on mute, baby. Hit the space bar or unmute where it's in.
Yeah. Good.
I was reading your message in chat. You said that you're a beatboxer. That is awesome. Great job. Thank you. Okay. Dylan is asking the question, what software do electrical engineers use? Ms. Johnson?
That's a great question. So a lot of people are under the misconception that electrical engineers only deal with circuit boards, they only do behind the scenes work with wiring. But it's so not true. And I'm a perfect example of that. So on my day-to-day job, I use Tableau, I use Excel, I use R, Python, and like Ms. Gibbs was talking about coding.org. I'm not sure if they teach how to use R and R Studio and Python, but coding is also another way to solve complex problems. I'm not a master coder by no means, but I have used those programs in my profession. But primarily I use Excel, which is something that so many people have to their disposal. And Tableau for visualization purposes and also to process data. So what I actually physically do is we do a lot of data analysis. What is data analysis? So I know you guys, everyone has seen on the news by now the COVID numbers and what it looks like in different states. Somebody's behind the scenes working that data, receiving information from hospitals and other medical facilities, and analyzing how the spread of COVID is going, analyzing the way COVID has progressed over time. All that is data. Data is basically everything we do. So I hope that answers your question. And my favorite color is green and blue. I love green and I love blue.
Okay.
Does anybody else have
any other questions? If you want to pop them into chat, that'll be fine. I just want to take a moment to let you know that we've been given a 10-minute countdown by our master of ceremonies, Mr. Bowman. So let's go back to, I think, was it, I don't see him on, Jackson. Mr. Taylor had a question or comment he wanted to make. He sent it to me privately, but I'd like for you to express yourself to the group, sir. Jackson, can you unmute, please?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey there, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Wonderful, wonderful. You shared something with me in the chat. Would you like to share that publicly?
Yeah, so like I know a lot of people who are veterans who have served in the army, and it seems like almost like every person that you can have genuine respect for has been in the army. And so when people say that they're in the army, I'm just really thankful.
Okay, awesome. He sent me the message was much shorter in chat. He just said he wanted to wish all of the veterans and folks in the service a very happy Veterans Day. And I echo that sentiment as well. Thank you for reminding us, Jackson. Jabril, are you okay, dear? All right. Any other questions for us today? I want to bring up one other, Gabriel, is he still here? Gabriel mentioned that he's in 3rd grade and would like to be in the Air Force. He's in the gifted program in his school and does a lot of STEM work, but he wants to fly F-18s. Is there anyone in the room that can help him figure out a path to doing that? Maybe in the next session even. Go ahead.
Jabril, what was your question again? My apologies.
Are you asking Jabril or Gabriel?
Gabriel, I'm sorry.
He wanted to know, how does he do that? He's in the gifted program in 3rd grade now, and would like to be in the Air Force. He does a lot of STEM work now, but he wants to learn how to fly F-18s. How does he do that?
That's a really good question, and it's great. It's good to see that you have those goals early on and you identify what it is that you think you really like to do. I think one of the easiest ways to do it is, one is to find clubs, and we can provide you with some resources to see if there are clubs in your local area, flying clubs in your local area, to really get you interested and to really support your interest in flying and to help you get there. There are a lot of folks who are former military and probably some current active duty military folks who could help lead the way to an active duty career as a pilot. But one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that, you know, to be a pilot these days, you still need a college degree. And so even with piquing your interest in some of these flying clubs and associations, what is it that you want to study in college to get you there, to get you to that final goal? But we can certainly provide those resources for you.
Awesome. Time check, it's 11:18. I know our main session with the honorable Honorable Major General Charles Bolden, the astronaut. We get to the opportunity to hear him speak in just moments away from that. I just want to invite Anaya, is it Janaya or Jania? Janaya? Pardon me if I'm saying it incorrectly. Diani, Aaliyah, and Derek. Would you guys like to participate and ask any questions, have any thoughts, comments, concerns, any takeaways from today? Go ahead.
Ms. Gibbs, if I could, Dylan, I just saw you ask a question about how many sit-ups do you have to do in order to be in the military. I just want to tap in. So civilians don't have the same requirements that military officers do. Although we work alongside them, we work right with them. I'm not sure, Colonel Trimble, I'm not sure if you know specifically how many sit-ups you need to do right now to be in the military. And I believe that every service is different. But civilians don't necessarily have to be as physically fit as like military officers, and you can still perform some of the same tasks. So that's just something else, another plug I wanted to enlighten you all with, because like I said, before I became a civilian, I didn't know what it was. And even when I interviewed to be in the federal service, I still didn't really know how impactful my career and my job is and was. So I'm very happy to be able to share with you all another opportunity in at such an early age and learn about.
Ms. Johnson, thank you. You know, Ms. Johnson is correct. There's a minimum standard for each and every service that you join. But you know, the key thing, young ladies, young men, the real key thing is, you know, get started. If you want to join the military, just stay fit, right? And even if you're not at your peak fitness, what happens when I talk about eating the elephant one bite at a time, is really, they will take you through it. You know, you want to be as fit as possible going in, and you want to just create a healthy lifestyle for your entire life. But you know, one of the things to always remember is never give up on yourself. So if you can't quite do 100 setups, you could probably do 10 or 20, but you always start there and you gradually get better and better and better and better and better and better over time. So remember that. So stay as healthy as you can and stay as fit as you can. But if you decide to join, they will take you from that beginning stage all the way up to the expert stage and the professional stage that you want to be in.
I was just going to add, you need to stay fit anyway. I've heard many times they say you're going to pay for it now or pay for it later. So eat healthy, yes, spend a little bit extra to buy healthier foods, stay active. I know in this current pandemic, the teacher is coming back to you because I understand. And Isaiah, hey guys, just want to make sure y'all hear this little piece. Make sure that you are getting some activity in every day. I know it's much more difficult and challenging because you're sitting behind a computer all day, every day. And I know exactly what you're dealing with. It's funny how I was telling I think I was talking to my mother or relative last night. I said, it's really funny. And you can't even really imagine how I've worked in corporate America for some time and I sat behind a desk. Sat there looking at a computer all day. But it's a very different thing when you're sitting there teaching or even learning from the computer all day. For some reason, it seems so much more draining and physically and so forth and psychologically when we're doing this now, and partly because it's forced, when it's my choice to do a particular job or go into a particular career. Yes, Jabril, just turn your camera. Thank you, baby. It's different. But right now, we're in a pandemic and it's not our choice to be kind of chained to a desk and a chair. And do I have the right desk, the right chair, the right lighting and all of that to sit here for 7, 8 hours a day? So I feel your pain, young men, young ladies. I understand where you're coming from, but get up and walk around. I almost want to say, let's do it anyway. Everybody can just do a little quick stand up, do a little brain break. I told my students, I'm gonna do dance breaks. I said, it might not look cute, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So I get here, I do my little thing just to work out the anxieties and the tensions, get the blood flowing in your legs. So before we start the next session, I would encourage you to get up, walk around the room or walk to the next room, do a quick bathroom break. And seems like this would probably be if there are no other questions, this might be a great time to do that. And I believe they will, if you hit leave room at the bottom, we'll go back to the main session and that will begin in about 6 minutes. Another happy Veterans Day coming from Aaliyah. Thank you so much. And Derek Houston, I did not understand your question, or to who was it directed, about how did you get the interview? If you'd like to open your mic, and we'll take that as our last question, maybe.
Ms. Johnson said she had an interview for her job, and I was wondering how she got it.
Thank you so much for asking. So, BEYA. I went to BEYA with my mentors one year, and BEYA does open interviews. And that's the blessing in it, is that you can get a job on the spot. So I interviewed at BEYA, and I was offered the position not too soon after. BEYA has representatives from all walks of the nation. The nation's greatest and best are at BEYA. So if you get the opportunity, prayerfully in the future, when everything is back to normal, we can interact in large settings again. Take advantage of BEYA. Tell your mom, tell your dad, your guardians, the people that are close to you, even your teachers. Some teachers don't even know what BEYA is still. Expose them to it because the opportunities are right there. So that's how I got it. I got the opportunity to interview at BEYA. And I also got internships through BEYA by interviewing right on the spot. Do you have any other questions for me? We're getting ready to close in a minute. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
Mr. Bolden, do you have some words of wisdom?
No, I was thanking you all for the presentation. I enjoyed it and learned a lot, especially you and Dr. Johnson. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Okay.
I'll send you the slides. I'll send you a slides.
Okay, just really quickly, Mr. Kennedy, put it's in there now. Get BEYA updates by signing up at BEYA.org. So young ladies, gentlemen, if you'll jot that down, I'm just gonna also poke this little pin here. Isaiah, I'm sorry, I can't hold it, y'all. I'm sorry, it's the teacher in me. Boys, your activity while we're on this Zoom call is a bit distracting. I would say this if I were in class, that's even better. Because if we're gonna be active, then we should turn our cameras off because it's distracting to the person speaking and the other students. No problem. Okay, it's okay, turn the camera off. There we go. But also my point was bring a pad and a pencil to anytime you come to a function like this, an interview, I don't care if you're going to church. My mom always told me, don't walk in the room empty-handed, baby. If you expect to get something out of it, then take you a pen, a pad. She used to have these nice little fancy portfolios. Well, I was gonna hold one up, but it's too thick. But just something with a notepad in it and a pencil or a pen, and always be prepared to write down some notes, write down the names of the people that you talk to. Do not depend on your memory. Because when you get my age, and Miss Johnson, I don't know why you thought you're the youngest person in the room, dear. I'm only 21.
I made an assumption.
I had to get that one in. I'm so sorry. I was like, is it starting to show? Just teasing, dear. But yeah, okay, we're gonna get ready to go. So everybody, you can go ahead and hit leave room, and we'll be on time for Mr. Bolden there. He's not a Mr. The Honorable. Yes. All right.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back in the plenary session. We'll give ourselves about 30 seconds for everyone to join us. Wasn't that a fantastic career day? I think I went to several rooms. I heard engineers. I heard agriculture scientists. I heard teachers. I heard cybersecurity. I heard dentists. So that was just absolutely phenomenal. So the next voice that you'll hear will be our astronaut and main speaker. Major General Charles Bolden, again, is a decorated U.S. Marine Corps aviator. He flew A-6s in Vietnam. He has over 100 combat missions. He then went to become a test pilot, and then went to the astronaut program. One of his mentors was the late Ron McNair. His son is an aviator. He's a family man, a mentor to all of us, and he's the former director of NASA. So with no further ado, we will go to Major General Charles Bolden.
Thanks very much, and hello to all of you. I was so glad to have an opportunity to skip around to a few of the breakout sessions, and as I was telling the kids in the middle school group, that was the smart group. So glad I had a chance to drop in on all of you. I will join all the other speakers earlier today in saying how much we appreciate your taking the time to spend this time today, getting an opportunity to hear about people who have done some of the things that you may want to do. I don't want to talk a lot because I want to try to get to the questions that you may have for me. But I thought I would start by just telling you how I ended up doing what I'm doing now. And for those of you who don't know, I am wearing a NASA bike shirt. I ride a bicycle for exercise now. I don't run anymore because of my knees, but I ride my bicycle and I try to ride every day. And this is my NASA bike shirt. I happen to be in Cape Canaveral, Florida right now, so I'm not at home. We live outside of Washington, D.C. in a place called Crystal City, Virginia, or Arlington, Virginia. But I came down for the scheduled SpaceX launch that was supposed to happen tonight, but now will probably happen tomorrow night. And it's a very special time for me because one of the crew members, the pilot on the crew, is Victor Glover, who looks like all of us. Victor, I think some of you who were on earlier may have seen the video about him with his family. But Victor and the other 3 members of his crew are down here in quarantine and over at the Kennedy Space Center, and they're all anxious to go fly tomorrow. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing here, and I'm really excited about it. I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. Now, I'm not sure whether any of you on the line are from South Carolina at all. Hopefully there's somebody there. But when I grew up, the schools were segregated. They weren't the way they are today. So Black kids went to one set of schools and white kids went to another set of schools. One of the things, though, that was, I guess, a misconception about it was that our education wasn't very good. You've heard several of the speakers earlier today talk about the quality education they got from historically Black colleges and universities. And I would say the same thing. Although our schools were segregated, our teachers were really devoted and dedicated to us. And so I got a pretty good education growing up in South Carolina. There was one thing, though, that changed my life when I was 12 years old. So for some of the middle school kids, when I was in 7th grade, I saw a program on television called Men of Annapolis, and it was about life at the Naval Academy. Now, Matt has mentioned to you all several times about the Naval Academy, and I know we have at least 2 midshipmen on the line here, but I went to the same school they went to. My wife went to a historically Black college. She went to Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, as did my daughter. But my son and I we ventured off and we went to the Naval Academy, and both ended up coming into the Marine Corps and both ended up as aviators. But I saw this program called Men of Annapolis about life at the Naval Academy. I had no idea, no clue what the Navy did or what it was like. I just loved the way the campus looked. I loved the uniforms. They would wear these high collars and everything and all formal. And so I decided that's where I want to go to college. And that's what I started working on from the age of 12. I had to get you had to get an appointment from either your senator or from your congressional representative, and everybody was eligible for an appointment from the Vice President of the United States. So I wrote to all of them. But back then, my two U.S. senators and my congressional representative made it very clear to me that they were not going to appoint a Black to the Naval Academy. So my hope became getting an appointment from then Vice President Lyndon Johnson. However, unfortunately for me, my senior year in high school, President John Kennedy was assassinated and Lyndon Johnson became the president. So I tell you all that to say, so on the day that President Kennedy was assassinated, it was a really, really dark day for a lot of reasons. For me, losing a president, but also because I knew that it probably meant I was not going to get to go to the Naval Academy because I wasn't eligible for a presidential appointment, and Vice President Johnson became the president. But I did something that my mom and dad encouraged me to do, and you've had several of the speakers today encourage you to do. I really wanted to go to the Naval Academy. I was passionate about it. And they said, if you want to go, write the president and tell him you want to go. And so I did that. I took a piece of paper and a pen and I wrote a letter to President Lyndon Johnson. And I said, Mr. President, you and I have been talking through letters for a number of years now. And I know I'm not eligible for an appointment to the Naval Academy from you, but I really, really, really want to go there. Can you help me? Never heard from him. But within a few weeks, a Navy recruiter showed up at my door and asked for me, said, hey, I understand you want to go to the Naval Academy. A few weeks later, the president sent a retired federal judge around the country looking for young Black men and Hispanic who were interested in going to the service academies. Women were not admitted at that time, so they were only looking for young men. And by virtue of doing all that, I ended up getting an appointment from Congressman William Dawson in Chicago, Illinois. And I went there. And when I left high school, there were two things that I knew, absolutely knew I would not do. I was definitely not going to fly airplanes because that was inherently dangerous. Got that, Matt? No way in the world I was going to fly airplanes. And Vice Admiral Davis, that's all he ever wanted to do. I had no desire to get anywhere close to an airplane. The second thing I was not going to do was I was not going to be a Marine because I thought Marines were crazy. So with those two things that I knew I was not going to do, I started my time at the Naval Academy. And my first year, my company officer or mentor or advisor happened to be a young Marine Corps major who was an infantry officer. And he impressed me unbelievably. He was like my dad. He was really tough, but unbelievably fair. And so 4 years later, when it was time to graduate, I said, you know, I can do anything I want to do. I can sail ships. I can probably go fly airplanes, but I don't want to do that. I want to be like him. His name was Major John Riley Love. And I said, I want to be like him. I want to be a Marine. So I chose the Marine Corps because of the impression that a person had made on me. Some of you are going to do the same thing in your lives. You're going to choose to be a teacher or a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer or an aviator because of somebody in your life that impressed you. Once I came into the Marine Corps, going through my first 6 months of training to learn how to be a rifle platoon commander, an infantry officer, I found I didn't like crawling around in the mud. And my wife did not like the idea of me being a Marine anyway, and she didn't not like the prospect of me going to Vietnam. So she kept harping on me why don't we go to Pensacola, Florida? And I said, I don't want to go to Pensacola. That's where they fly airplanes, and I don't want to fly airplanes. And she kept insisting. So I finally gave up, and I said, okay, we'll go to Pensacola. And we went to Pensacola, and first time I got in an airplane and felt the wheels lift off, I mean, there was something in my chest, in my whole body that said, wow, I cannot believe this. This is really, really super. And so I fell in love with flying, and the rest is sort of history. I had no desire whatsoever to become an astronaut. I knew about the space program, but that did not impress me. And then another thing happened in my life. I decided I wanted to be a test pilot, and I managed to get to do that. And I was in a place called Patuxent River, Maryland. And the same time I was there, NASA had selected their first group of space shuttle astronauts. And among that group in 1978 were 3 African-American men, all 2 of them were military, 2 were Air Force, and the late great Dr. Ron McNair. And Ron and I did not know each other, but he and I had grown up about 42 miles from each other in South Carolina. He grew up in Lake City, South Carolina, and I grew up in Columbia. But unlike me, Ron had always, all his life, wanted to be an astronaut. And so that's what he focused on. He went to North Carolina A&T, got his undergraduate degree, and then accepted a slot at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he earned his doctorate, his PhD in laser physics, and became one of the world's foremost laser physicists. And when NASA advertised for people to come into the space program, he applied, and he was accepted in the first group. So he came back from Houston up to Pax River, where I was, along with some of the Navy and Marine Corps pilots who had trained there. And I saw this Black guy get out of the back of this sleek looking NASA T-38. And I was mesmerized. I said, boy, I didn't know they had, one, I didn't realize that they flew those kinds of airplanes, but I didn't realize that there was a guy who looked like me there. I hadn't really paid much attention to it. And so Ron and I talked the whole weekend, and I was really impressed, but not impressed enough that I was going to apply for the space program. But before he went back to Houston, he said, hey, are you going to apply for the program? I said, not on your life. And he looked at me real strange. He said, why not? I said, they'd never pick me, Ron. And he said, that is the dumbest thing I ever heard. I mean, that's dumb. How do you know they won't pick you if you don't ask? And more than anything else, I was embarrassed, because my mom and dad had been my teachers growing up, and they had always told me I could do anything I wanted to do if I was willing to work and apply myself. And I had forgotten that. So when Ron went back to Houston, I got my paper and pencil out, and I applied for the astronaut program, got nominated by the Marine Corps to NASA, had an opportunity to go interview in Houston, Texas. And lo and behold, when they selected the second group of space shuttle astronauts, I was in that group. So that's how I happened to do that. Somebody really encouraged me, mentored me, pushed me, embarrassed me, and made me decide to do it. So that's how I got to be an astronaut. I can tell you some other stuff, but let me do a real quick thing here. I'm going to try to share my screen with you if I can, and show you so you can get to questions. But okay, you don't want to see that. That's the title. I don't know if any of you recognize the folk in that picture. Those are the 4 crew members with their SpaceX Crew Dragon right behind them. They took this picture right down here at the Kennedy Space Center not many days ago. Anybody notice what they're wearing? Come off your mic and yell it. What are they wearing?
Mask.
Why are they wearing masks?
Mask.
Themselves. Mask.
To protect themselves and to protect other people. This 4-person crew is getting ready to go to space, and they're going to be living for the next 6 months on the International Space Station. So we cannot afford for them to get sick and take coronavirus to the International Space Station. So that's why they're wearing the mask. I see somebody just kind of, I hope they were trying to point to Victor, but I don't know whether you can see my arrow, but the guy on the right is Victor Glover. And let me go back one, but I think we're being hacked. But anyway, Victor is the person on the right. He is only the second African-American pilot to fly a spacecraft in 26 years. So I flew last 26 years ago, and Victor will fly tomorrow night. And that's unacceptable. So he and I are working on solving that problem, on making sure that doesn't happen. This is the International Space Station. People live and work on this now for 6 months at a time. And every once in a while, we have somebody that lives there for a year. We had one American, Scott Kelly, who lived on the International Space Station about 2 years ago. He was there with his Russian counterpart, and they both were there for 1 whole year. So we've now been living and working on the International Space Station for 20 plus years. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary a few weeks ago. So that's the International Space Station. I'm going to show you this, and I'm just going to be quiet and let you look. But this is kind of stuff they do. This is Mike Hopkins. He's Victor Glover's commander on this flight coming. That's Scott Kelly. He lived on the space station for a year. That's the first time we ate lettuce that we actually grew on the International Space Station. So they now grow a lot of their own food: beans, lettuce, tomatoes, little cherry tomatoes.
That's the only reason I really don't be coming up here. Because you always tell me.
This is our planet. And a couple of things for some of you who think you want to live on Mars. I'm a big fan of Mars, and I want to go to Mars one of these days. I do not want to stay there. This is the only planet in our solar system that we know can sustain life today. We study places like Mars and Venus, and we're now beginning with telescopes like the Hubble Space Telescope and the soon to be flown James Webb Space Telescope we're trying to learn about Earth-like planets in other galaxies and other solar systems. So one of these days, we may find another planet that's like our own planet Earth, but this is our planet Earth, and we have to take care of it, because right now, it's the only place that we know of that can sustain life the way that we know it. Anybody know what that circle is, that ball going around Earth? Anybody want to
The moon.
That's our moon. And because we're looking at it through a camera that's 1.5 million kilometers away from Earth,
hold it for you already.
you're actually seeing what we call the backside of the moon. The moon goes around Earth. It rotates on its own axis, just like Earth does, but it rotates on its axis once every 28 days. So as it goes around Earth, we only see one side of it. So the lit side of the moon that we see all the time is the only side we see, because it's rotating slow enough that we never get to see the backside. So you're getting to see the backside of the moon here. So I think that's my my little slideshow. I'll get back to you. Couple of things. I hate giving advice, so don't take this as advice. Take this as what I learned myself. Okay, 3 things my mom and dad taught me. Like I said, my mother was my middle school librarian. I was her library assistant. My father was my high school football coach. And like I said, he was really tough. I was a quarterback, not very good. So I was the second string quarterback. So I played for my dad in high school. And he had a saying, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. So for some of you who may be a little bit smaller than the average bear, don't worry about it. I was just like you. I was 4'11", and I weighed 84 pounds when I went to 9th grade in high school. I'm not much bigger than that nowadays, but anyway, so study really hard. I think several of the speakers have said that today. Study, study, study. People ask me a lot, what do I need to study? Of course you need math and science, but you also need foreign languages, because every time you learn a language, you learn a little bit about the culture of the people who speak that language. You need to understand history, particularly for us, for people of color. We have to understand our history, otherwise we're destined to repeat it, and we cannot do that. We're in a critical time of our lives right now, all of us, as we suffer through this COVID pandemic, but also a period of awakening on the part of a lot of people about social and racial injustice. And we have to know our history so that we can be champions to make sure that the world of the future is not the same as the world of today. So study really hard. Second thing is work really hard. And when I talk about working, what I really mean is practice. Just practice, practice, practice. For those of you who are athletes or dancers or singers, you wouldn't think about going into a performance without practicing and practicing and practicing. Your coaches tell you all the time, you got to practice, practice, practice. You got to work hard if you want to be a champion. Why would you think you can go in the classroom and be good without working hard at it? So when you go to the classroom, work really hard at the subject matter so that you try to become the best person in the world in that particular subject. You may not be, but at least by trying, you'll be better off than most people. And the final thing is never, ever, ever be afraid of failure. Failure is a part of life. Many of us will tell you, many of us adults will tell you, some of our greatest lessons were learned through our failure. And we came out on the other side. When we got up off the ground and figured out what went wrong, we came out and we were much stronger and much better for it. So study really hard, work really hard. Don't ever be afraid of failure. You can do anything you want to do. You just have to set your mind to it. I'll close with a saying that I love. It's from a young man who died of AIDS in a place called KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, a long time ago, back in 2001. And his name was Nkosi Johnson. And he was a champion for AIDS and also for equal rights of Black people on the African continent. But before he died, he met with an American writer who noticed that he was always smiling and always upbeat and never cried out in pain, never said anything about himself, was always giving people direction, always trying to help other people. And although he died at the age of 12, when this writer, Jim Wooten, talked to him, he said, Nkosi, I don't understand. He said, you're never sad. You never ask for anything. What makes you tick? Why do you do what you do? And Nkosi looked up at him and he smiled and he said, you do all you can with what you have in the time that you have in the place that you are. Do all you can with what you have in the time that you have in the place that you are. That's all anybody can ask of you. So thanks so very much for allowing me to be with you all. We've got some time, and I think I'm going to turn it back over to Matt, and we're going to try to answer some questions for you all, I think. Is that right, Matt?
Yes, sir. We're going to go to question and answer. And when you ask your question, please state your name and your age so that we get your first name only and your age so that we know who you are. And then, sir, as you answer the questions, we have Dr. Warwick on the line and Vice Admiral Brewer and Vice Admiral Davis, sir. So we have a cadre to respond to the questions. But children, it's our honor to have Astronaut Bolden. So we're open up for questions.
Don't forget, he said you can ask it to any of the four of us. They don't all go to me. I'm going to put Admiral Brewer to work if nobody asks him a question.
Yes, sir.
Sir Dylan Watford sent a chat asking a question. Do the astronauts have to take vitamins and use a sunlight lamp in space?
Dylan, we don't use a sunlight lamp. In fact, one of the things that we do is we actually put filters on the windows so that they don't get too much sunlight into the spacecraft. One of the things, what is it? Who knows what protects us from the radiation of the sun? Anybody know? What about
the ozone layer?
Yeah, it's our atmosphere. We live inside a bubble, and our atmosphere shields us from the harsh radiation of the sun. When we're in space, we're outside that bubble. We're outside the magnetosphere and outside our atmosphere, and so the sun can be pretty harsh on astronauts. They actually, as you're going around, you go around Earth once every 90 minutes. And so you're in darkness for 45 minutes, in light for 45 minutes. You see the sun rise and set 16 times every normal Earth day. So your daylight is 45 minutes, nighttime's 45 minutes, and just alternates like that. An astronaut who's outside doing a spacewalk in the sunlight, the suit feels up to 250 degrees Fahrenheit of heat on the outside. On the outside in the dark, it's minus 250 degrees. So an astronaut inside the spacesuit goes through a 500-degree temperature swing. But your question about vitamins, we actually, we do three things to protect astronauts and to try to keep their bodies healthy, because bone loss is something we really worry about with gravity being overcome while we're in space. So we exercise. We have a lot of exercise devices that are not unlike what you would see in a gym down here. Gravity is overcome, but we use bungees and things to present the resistance so that it feels like we're down here on Earth. We have a very rigid diet, so we work out our diets with the dietitians before we even leave Earth. Some of you may remember the people with the chef hats on at the end. Those are some of our dietitians and cooks that prepare the foods for us. And then we always have pharmaceuticals, medication if we need it for vitamin supplement or the other thing. The doctors look at the astronauts' health every single day. They record everything we eat and drink. And so they can send messages up every day to the astronauts saying, okay, Victor, you need a little bit more greens. So when you eat today, go and get some extra collard greens out or some extra peas or something, because you need a little bit more vitamin D or whatever comes from greens. I don't know. So hopefully that answers your question.
Sir, Ethan wants to know, how did you prepare to go to space? He's 9 years old.
Yeah, Ethan, every crew member does, it takes about 2 years to get ready for a specific mission. The first year when you're assigned to be a crew member, and this comes on the heels of several years of just generic preparation. Everybody, if you're not a military pilot, everybody gets into the T-38 and learns how to fly because we use the T-38 as a training aircraft to help us get accustomed to being in unusual attitudes and reacting quickly to unusual experiences and the like. And then we take courses like aerodynamics, meteorology, oceanography, geography. So again, it brings everybody up to speed so that we all know about the same amount. And nowadays, because we fly sometimes on Russian spacecraft, every crew member, every American astronaut has to learn to speak Russian. I didn't have to do that when I was there. So you do the generic training first, and then once you're assigned to a crew, You and your crew members train in a simulator. You go through over and over and over, learning all about the spacecraft that you're going to fly. And then the last part of that, you get together with the flight controllers and the flight directors on the ground around the world. And you go through what we call integrated simulations, where they throw in faults that we don't even see in the spacecraft. We don't know things are going wrong, but the people on the ground, because they have much finer instruments and gauges, they can see a leak, for example, days before we'll see it on board the spacecraft. So it's as much for training the ground crew to be able to take care of us as it is us. So it's about a 2-year period of time to get trained. You go through survival training, like I said, flight training, and then the training for the vehicle. Nowadays on the International Space Station, we don't get to do a lot of very specific training on the experiments we do, because a crew member may do as many as 200 experiments in the 6 months that they're on the International Space Station. So what we do is we teach crew members how to do basic laboratory kinds of work, and then we give them preparation. Either the principal investigator, the doctor doing the test, will send them some reading material that they can study up on it first. And nowadays, the doctors or the principal investigators can actually get on a mic, on a headset, and talk to the crew as they do the experiments. We couldn't do that when I was flying in the space shuttle.
Sir, Maria Figgins wants to know how many times you've been to space.
Maria, I flew 4 times, and remember now, I'm a space shuttle astronaut. I'm a wimp compared to what Victor and people do nowadays. A normal period of time on the International Space Station today is 6 months. So that's a normal mission. Very few people go for less than that, unless it's a space tourist or something like that. But a normal NASA crew member will go for at least 6 months, and sometimes as much as a year. My longest mission in the space shuttle was 9 days. So I had, in 4 flights, I had the equivalent of about a month in space. People think it's a lot, but my 680 hours are dwarfed by what people do today who go to the International Space Station.
Sir, Maria Bowman, who's 15 years old, wants to know if you get motion sickness in space.
Maria, some people do. I'm pretty lucky in that I didn't have any problem at all. We kind of call it space adaptation syndrome. It's not exactly like, it's not at all like the motion sickness that you feel, seasickness. Doctors don't completely understand it, but we attribute a lot of it to being just what we call the conflict theory, where your eyes tell you something's going on and your body doesn't tell the brain the same thing. With gravity having been overcome, you have no idea of up and down. So you could be upside down. It's 12 o'clock. Looking out the window or looking at something in the cabin, and it looks like everything's upright, and your brain goes, wait a minute, I'm confused here. Or you look out the window expecting Earth to be down there, and Earth may be up there, and the brain just gets confused. And if it's not able to resolve that, the brain sends a signal to your stomach sometimes, and all of a sudden you might feel mild stomach awareness, or some people actually get sick. Almost nobody suffers from space adaptation syndrome longer than a couple of days. So it takes about 2 days for people to adapt, and then you're pretty good. Very few people experience a similar sensation when they come back to Earth. They're no longer in this microgravity environment, and they've got gravity pulling down on them all the time, and their body just takes it has a difficult time adjusting. And some of them get sick to the point that they have to have medication. But again, that happens very, very, very rarely.
Sir, Ronan, who is in the 7th grade, wants to know who designs the space suits.
You know, Ronan, it depends on who you're flying with. The space suits that if you watch the launch tomorrow, and if you start watching a few hours earlier, you'll see the crew come out of the crew quarters down here at the Kennedy Space Center, where they got dressed in their suits. They'll be wearing SpaceX spacesuits. So there are suits that were designed by SpaceX suit designers in collaboration with colleges and universities around the country. When you see people fly in a Russian spacecraft, they're flying Russian spacesuits. So the spacesuits today, because we now have commercially provided spacecraft, the spacesuits are generally designed by the manufacturer of the spacecraft. So SpaceX has their own suits, Blue Origin has their own suits, NASA has its own suits. Today, though, for a spacewalk, we only have 2 spacesuits. We have or what we call extravehicular mobility units. One is a Russian model and one's an American model. But we're working really hard, both with academia, with colleges and universities, and with industry, to try to come up with a much more streamlined suit, one that's much more efficient and effective and doesn't weigh quite as much as the suit today. Today's spacesuit weighs about 300 pounds down here on the ground. The good thing is when you're in space, it doesn't weigh anything because you're weightless. So, you know, you can get around, but it's still a 300-pound suit. It's really bulky and not easy to work in.
Sir, Andrea, who's 16 years old, says that since there are a lot of developments being made in space exploration and space travel, what do you project will be the best track to becoming an astronaut in the near future?
The absolutely greatest thing about today, was that Angela?
Andrea?
Andrea. The best thing about today, and all of you on this session today should know, any one of you that wants to be an astronaut can become one, because there are any number of avenues for you to get there. You may not want to go in the military. And in fact, most of NASA's astronauts today, more than half of NASA's astronauts today are not military people. They're not the old kind of astronaut that used to be a test pilot. We have doctors, we have engineers, some pilots, some flight officers, or what we in the Navy and Marine Corps call naval flight officers. But a lot of the astronauts today, at least from the United States, are scientists and medical doctors and researchers. If you want to fly with one of the commercial providers like a SpaceX or Virgin Galactic or even Blue Origin soon, you go through their selection process and you don't ever come in contact with NASA. So they're Virgin Galactic, which does what we call suborbital space flight. They have a spacecraft, a space rocket that drops from its carrier aircraft and then lights its rocket engine and flies up, zooms up into space, turns itself over, and then comes back down. So they spend about 20 minutes in space and come back down, just like Alan Shepard did, the first American to go to space. So that's what we call suborbital space flight. You don't actually go around Earth, but you go into space and right back down. For orbital space flight, there's a little bit more involved in the training and everything else, but you can still engage in orbital space flight going through one of the private companies. There are now private schools to go through for test piloting. When I became a test pilot, there were only 2 places in the United States you could go. You could go to Edwards Air Force Base to the Air Force Aerospace Test Pilot School, or you could go to Patuxent River, Maryland to the Navy's Test Pilot School, or you could go to France or England. So there were only 4 test pilot schools in the world. Today, there's a test pilot school in Mojave that's civilian run. There's a test pilot school in New Mexico. So there's all kinds of ways that you can go to space without actually having to go through NASA or the military. So hopefully you'll take up one of those. I want to see you on Mars with me.
Sir, Maria has another question for you. She wants to know, what did you have to do with the Hubble Space Telescope?
Oh, Maria, it's you know, I don't have a favorite mission, but that's one of those that stands way up there, because that was my second flight to space on the Space Shuttle Discovery. I was the pilot or co-pilot when we took the Hubble Space Telescope to space and lifted it out of the payload bay of the shuttle with the remote manipulator system, the mechanical arm, the robot arm. We lifted it out and got it all configured and then released it and put it into space in 1990. So Hubble has been in space now for 30 years because we've done 5 Hubble servicing missions, which means we've sent astronauts up and they've changed out components. We've actually changed out almost everything, every part of Hubble that was on the original Hubble Space Telescope. It's really an observatory. It's multiple telescopes, but it has 6 brand new instruments in it. The solar arrays, this is the 3rd generation of solar arrays on it. It's got all new batteries. So it's a pretty new observatory, but I was on the crew that put the original Hubble Space Telescope into orbit. And I'm very proud of that.
Sir, Ronan is very interested in knowing, do you work with astrophysics as well as math and engineering?
Ronan. I got to get some of the engineers on here to answer. I work around astrophysicists. They're too smart. Those are, remember I told you, nowadays more than half of the astronauts, the NASA astronauts, are no longer pilots. Pilots like me, we're good at what we do. We know how to fly airplanes and we're smart, but the engineers and the scientists and all the PhDs that we worked around, they're really smart. And so I flew with a couple of astrophysicists several times, and they just kind of dwarf you. One of the reasons when I went down for my interview in Houston in the winter of 1980, I came back and I told my wife, there is no way in the world I'm going to get selected to be an astronaut. There are too many smart people in the world. And I had interviewed, we interviewed 200 people. NASA goes through thousands of applications, and they pick 200 people to bring to Houston to interview over a 2-week period of time. Now, a lot of psychological evaluation, medical tests, and everything else. I went down with 19 others in my group. And I mean, guys and girls with degrees from up here around their neck all the way down to their fingertips. And I didn't think I would compete, but I did pretty well. And I'll tell you why. It always, and I'm trying to remember, I was in one of your sessions and one of the speakers said, always carry a pen and paper and always ask lots of questions. I will add, never, ever, ever be embarrassed or ashamed to speak up. When I went through my astronaut session, my week of evaluation, the highlight of the week was a 2-hour interview. You stood at one end of a big green table, and there were people all around the table who represented the engineering community, the astronaut office, human capital, personnel people and everything. And you talk to them for 2 hours, and they ask you all kinds of off the wall questions. And having sat on a selection board now, I can tell you, we didn't have any doubts about people's technical qualifications. What we wanted to find out in the interview was, how do they present themselves? Are they poised? Are they confident? Will they represent NASA well? Matt will probably tell you, even in the Navy, Marine Corps, when you get ready to go into a school as an instructor, one of the things that you get groomed on is, they call it charm school, and they want you to be able to talk to your students and communicate effectively with them. So they were really looking to see how I communicated and how I responded when they asked what I would think maybe were stupid questions or trivial questions. But I think I did pretty well. So I ended up being selected. And I tell people all the time, my 8 years working for President Obama as the NASA administrator, I was essentially what you call the voice and the face of NASA. So people saw me and heard me all the time talking about the space agency and all the work we did. And I would always tell the people who work with me in NASA, don't ever let me embarrass you. Don't let me go out and say something that's not right. When you hear me go through my preparation, do not be embarrassed about raising your hand and say, sir, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. That is not correct. I don't know who told you that, because I am going to go out and represent all of you. And you should all be the same way when you're in positions of authority. Tell people, don't let you go out and look stupid. If you will almost never be the smartest person in the room. That's not what's important. What's important is for you to be smart enough to know that you need to have really smart people around you to help you run your organization. I'm going to ask Admiral Brewer here. Admiral Brewer, on your ship, your ships, what would you have been if you thought you were the smartest person on the ship? How do you think your ships would have done?
Not very well. Because, one of the things that I always said is that you're only as good as the people who work for you. And my philosophy is very simple. There are two types of leaders. There are ladder builders and there are ladder climbers. Ladder climbers are people who really focus just basically on themselves and their own personal accomplishments. Ladder builders are people who understand very clearly that your success is based on the success that you generate in others. Ladder climbers also have a tendency to fail. And when they fail, because they've walked over the backs of a lot of people, they find themselves nobody there to support them. For the young people, what that really means is that if you're on a football team, a basketball team, or any kind of a team, you want to be a team player. You just don't want to be somebody out there trying to, you know, set all the records, etc. Your success is really embedded in your team.
You know, Admiral Davis, you might add, not only were you highly successful in the Navy, but you came out and started your own company, and people come to you now seeking wisdom. I can imagine, you know, what you did to put this session together today, because I happen to know you went out and you got really smart young people, like Matt Bowman and others. So you got anything you want to add to it?
Well, Tyrone and I both would answer that question the same. We went out and got Matt Bowman and Quan Hurst. And we know what influence they can have with the people like you when you work with them, because they have that enthusiasm for their work, and they know how to put together a team. Yeah. As Admiral Brewer mentioned, when the aboard ship on the aircraft carrier had 5,000 people, I needed all 5,000, and every one of them is part of that team. You needed all of them, and Matt and Juan are really good at putting together a team, and we really want to thank you for being part of that team today. You've influenced me. I want to be an astronaut now.
I have one more question. Admiral Davis, didn't you command the Ranger?
I did.
For the kids, they may or may not appreciate this, but I'm going to tell this story. The USS Ranger is a huge, it may be razor blades now, I don't know.
It is.
Aircraft carriers are huge ships. And like Admiral Davis said, they have a 5,000 person crew on it. When Admiral Davis got there, the Ranger was called the Danger Ranger. And it had a reputation for being a horrible ship, absolutely horrible. They couldn't do anything right. To show you what happens when he left, having served as the commander of that ship, it was one of the best carriers in the Navy, and it was all because of the type of leadership that he exerted, the fact that he trusted his crew and he let them know that he depended on them making him successful, and they would work together. And that I always, you know, everybody in the Navy knows the story of the Danger Ranger and what Admiral Walt Davis did to turn that ship around. It doesn't happen very often in the Navy that you take a bad ship and make it good, and he did it. So I just wanted to tell that story about him.
I enjoyed every minute of it.
Well, to all of the flag officers, there are nearly 30 midshipmen on this call today.
Oh my goodness.
And the question is, how would they go about finding flag mentors, and how would the K through 12 students find mentors in this age of COVID-19, when many of them don't have the advantage of having in-person events?
Tyrone, you want to answer that question?
Absolutely, sir. Now, first of all,
Tyrone is the man.
let me say this, that this virtual community that we're doing today, these are really great opportunities to do so. What I would encourage all of the young people, where it is age appropriate, please join some of the different groups that are online, the educational groups that exist out there. And again, I think that connecting with professional organizations, we have a sustained mentoring program with BEYA Stars and Stripes that's run by Vice Admiral Andy Wins, as well as Jesse McCrary. That is one great place to tie in and to continue these kind of opportunities. Lastly, we have a book up called Becoming an Engineer. If you check your feed, check into that and follow blackengineer.com. We will have more and more resources available for young people to stay engaged during this pandemic. But the internet is a great way for us to stay together until we're able to see and meet each other in person again.
And the only thing I'll add for the midshipmen, since you asked the question, even in COVID, we're going to have another astronaut convocation coming up next year. We usually bring astronauts down to the campus and have an evening where they do a panel and talk about what it's like. We are going to be there. We may be virtual, but we're going to be there. So I would say take advantage of that. Make sure you participate. Make sure you ask lots of questions. And almost all of us respond to email. So, you know, we'll give you our email addresses. I'm certain that if you, because we didn't do it this time, if you send it to BEYA, they can put you in touch with me, I know, and I'll be more than happy to respond to things that people say, people ask.
Okay, back to you specifically, General Bolden. Gabby says that she noticed that you embraced change so much, even when you said there were things you didn't want to do in life, but you ended up doing them. So how did you embrace change so openly? And what was your mentality in moving into those new sectors in your career, even though you knew so little about them?
I will go back and I'll give the credit to my mom and dad. I tell people all the time, you know, I'm a Marine. I'm still a Marine. And we have something we call our core values. The Navy and the Marine Corps have the core values of honor, courage, and commitment. And we try to live that. And I tell people all the time when they talk about an ethics course or stuff like that, I argue with the lawyers all the time. I said, look, I got the best ethics course there was at my dinner table with my mom and dad. They taught me right and wrong. And they also, because we were living in the segregated South, my mom and dad said, there will be a day that we can make things different and we have to be prepared. And so they taught me to always be responsive to any opportunity that came my way. They said, you know, you may not know anything at all, but you probably know more than most people who are in there claiming to know everything. So do not be afraid to step up and offer whatever you can to help. And I would say to all of you, like I said, don't ever be afraid of failure. Usually, you know, we're afraid because we're a different color or because we're a different sex or because we're too short or we're too heavy or something else. We're afraid sometimes because we don't think we know enough. You know enough. You do know enough. And if you go and take advantage of all the assets that are available to you, whether it's online or in a library or something else, you can make yourself, you know, the best person in that particular field. So you should always strive to become the best person in the field, but never be embarrassed or never be timid about stepping up and speaking out.
Sir, Maria Bowman wants to know, what did you hear in space? And Ethan wants to know, is the Earth as beautiful from space as you expected?
Earth is much more beautiful, Ethan. I was overwhelmed. I literally cried. And I'm a wimpy guy anyway. Admiral Davis and Admiral Brewer will tell you, I break down and cry all the time. I'm just emotional. But I literally, I mean, tears rolled down my cheek. My very first space shuttle mission, I had spent a lot of time learning about the continent of Africa because I wanted to be able to look down and see the, you know, some of the countries from which my ancestors may have come. And I'm not sure why I thought I would see all these lines on the map. I mean, down there on the ground, but we, about 15 minutes into flight, we had left the Kennedy Space Center and I looked out in front of us and there was this, what looked like a big island. I mean, a big island. And it didn't take me very long to realize that that was the continent of Africa. That was my home continent. And there were no lines. I couldn't tell one country from another one. They all just kind of blended. And it, you know, it occurred to me that what my mom and dad had taught me about all of us being the same, about people all being the same, it just kind of hit me that this was one planet, one ocean, one world in which we all either survived together or we perished together. And I literally cried. It just moved me that way. We take some incredible pictures with the cameras we have. I have not seen any camera yet that can give you the pictures that God's cameras give to the human eye. So it is absolutely spectacular. So I got carried away on that one and I forgot the first question. I got to the second question first.
Yes, sir, you did. The first question was, what did you hear?
You know, believe it or not, you can't hear anything in space, and I'm being technical here, you would not find yourself outside a spacecraft without a suit on. So you always hear something because you're in a spacesuit. But if you were able to get out without a spacesuit on, because it's a vacuum. So it's got little molecules of air, but they're like blocks away and stuff like that. So there is no way for sound to make its way through space. So you don't hear anything. Inside the spacecraft, though, you hear crinkling and cracking and popping and all kinds of stuff all the time, because the spacecraft is constantly expanding and contracting. Remember, I told you for 45 minutes, it's 250 degrees on the outside. And for the next 45 minutes, it's minus 250 degrees. So the spacecraft, the structure itself, expands and contracts and expands and contracts every time it goes through that 500-degree temperature swing. And sometimes it's like being in I never served in a submarine, but I've heard people who served in submarines talk about hearing the hull pop as they descended, and the pressurization in the submarine equalized and stuff. But it's funny sounds inside the spacecraft.
Sir, I think you came close to answering this question. Did you ever miss home? Matthew Bowman wants to know.
Matthew, every single time I flew to space, and I haven't talked to everybody, but I talked to a lot of people. You're so busy that you don't have time to miss home until you get close to time to come home. And I think I remember this from deployments. You were really busy at sea, and then all of a sudden you're about a week or two away from getting home, and man, you just can't wait to get home. And it was like that every single flight I did. My last couple of days, I was really anxious to get home because I wanted to see my family and my kids. But up until those last few days, when there was the certainty of going home, I was just too busy working to miss being home. And nowadays, the astronauts, actually, everybody has their own little space on board. It's a cubicle, and they have access to FaceTime, email, they can call on the phone, they can do all kinds of stuff. So they actually can be in touch with their families, just like you and I do. The speed is not it's not high speed internet, but they have internet and everything.
Sir, there's many more questions, but I'm getting the hook. And so I think we are moving on to the next speaker.
Yes, ma'am. General Richardson, ma'am, thank you. Major General Bolden, sir, that was phenomenal. That was absolutely phenomenal to hear from an astronaut, to hear your message. It was so powerful and well received by everyone.
Excuse me, Mr. Bowman.
Sir, we're going to go to Dr. Cynthia Warwick, president of Stillman College.
We give him a big hand before he
to close this out.
Excuse me, Mr. Bowman.
Yes.
What college degree do you have?
Oh, what college degree do I graduated from the Naval Academy with a Bachelor of Science in electrical science. And then I went back to grad school at the University of Southern California and got a master's in systems management.
That is awesome. Thank you, young man. All right, Dr. Warwick and Vice Brewer.
Well, it's been a great day, and I thank you again for allowing me to participate. As the president of Stillman College, I was very impressed with the questions that the young people speakers, and I think that says a lot about your interests and your future. I think your futures are all very bright. I would like to encourage all of you today to think about planning to attend a service academy or a university or college that has ROTC. I think it's so important today because, and especially parents on the call, the military, even if you don't want
Hello?
they have every job today in corporate America, in healthcare and research. It's all in our military services. And the cost of higher education today is so expensive that if you go to a service academy or through ROTC, you can reduce that cost of your education significantly. You know, of course, in service academies, you don't pay for your tuition, and I can't tell you enough, to come out of college with a degree with no debt is really what you ought to be thriving for, because just like many of the last question was asked, what's your degrees? Well, I have an undergraduate degree in pharmacy. I have a master's degree. I have a certificate from UCLA. I have a PhD. And the only one of those degrees that I did not have debt or have to pay for myself was my doctorate. And so you just don't understand the value of the service academies and ROTC in terms of funding your education, because I know everyone on this call today is going to college. But let's be smart about how you fund that education, and and these opportunities that you have for your bright future. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Warwick. And now Vice Admiral Brewer for our close, our thanking guests and panelists. Over to you, sir.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank my good friend, General Bolden, for that phenomenal presentation. He is a hero to all of us. We watched him grow. It's not bad that he's from the mighty South Carolina, where my wife, where I married a woman from Winsboro, South Carolina, right outside of his hometown of Columbia. So I know that culture very well, and they are all successful. My wife also is has her doctorate degree as well. So it must be something in that water down there in South Carolina. Young people, I just want to say this, that what you heard today is wisdom. And don't ever forget that. You know, there's knowledge, there's a lot of things, but then the one thing that separates people, successful people, from people who are not successful is wisdom. And what does wisdom mean? Wisdom means not only do you have knowledge, but you got common sense. And don't ever forget that, common sense. I know a lot of smart guys who, frankly speaking, could quote chapter and verse when it came to formulas, etc., but couldn't think their way out of a paper bag when it came to common sense. And that is what makes great leaders: wisdom, common sense, being able to relate to other human beings, as I talked about ladder builder and ladder climber. Now, I want to leave y'all with one question, and then I'm going to leave you with one quote. Okay? Okay. One question is, what is the world's most powerful computer? I want to see it in chat. What is the world's most powerful computer? All right. The brain, the human brain, is the world's most powerful computer.
Put that anyway.
Somebody said smartphones, not quite. But anyway, so the bottom line is, use your brain. If you use your brain and you maximize the capacity in your brain, then you will be successful. Now, your brain needs food in order to perform. And so I'm going to leave you with this one quote. If I read, I will succeed. I want you all to say that to yourselves. If I read, I will succeed. Because when you read, you are feeding your brain. And your brain will be able to reach out and grab information and knowledge and relate to experiences simply because you are reading. And like you've already heard, you do not have to read just textbooks. You should read books, period. And you will also begin to understand who is successful, who's not successful. You will get perfect examples of people who you should emulate and people who you should avoid. And you will also be able to relate those situations to current leadership. But more importantly, as you grow, as you finish high school, as you finish college, you will need the most successful students when I was in college were the students who read. So remember that. If I read, I will succeed. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much, Admiral Brewer. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. A great panel. Don't forget your post-event survey. Then we like everyone to come turn your computers on, get picture ready. We're going to take one photo. Quan, Ray, in 30 seconds, let's go ahead and take this photo and tell us, Ray.
Matt, can I say just one thing while we taking that photo?
Yes, sir.
The major goal of this today, you'll find some imperfections here, but the major goal that we had was to make ourselves accessible to the students. So we'd really like if you have further questions or you need a mentor or you need help, as you know, John Bolden really, all of his examples will show you what you can get from us. So don't hesitate to do that. You've got our email addresses, call on us.
Yes, sir. And Admiral Davis, what we'll do is we'll send everyone the information so that they have it and follow up after the post-event survey. All right. So pictures on, faces ready. Look into your cameras. And let's go ahead and go so we can get ready to see the space launch tomorrow. All right. All right. 1, 2, 3, snap. Great. And Ray, let me know when we're all done. All right. I want to thank Ray and Quan for doing this. You all have a great weekend. We thank you all. And join us next time, BEYA.org, and we'll see you online for the next event next quarter.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love it.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Quan. Thank all of you.
Thank you. Good luck.